He pushed the same cart down the same hallways for 5 years. Classroom 1-2A. 12 bytes. 12 se. Always invisible. Always silent. The high school students stepped around him like he was furniture. Teachers barely nodded. But when Ms. Rodriguez wrote an impossible quantum physics equation on the board during her advanced class, she never expected the janitor to pause, glance at it, and quietly erase one symbol. The correction was so subtle, so perfect, that it took her breath away. Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we begin this powerful story, tell us in the comments, from which city in the world are you watching this video today? And if you believe stories like this need to be told, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these stories alive. The corridors of Abraham Lincoln High School were silent at 6 a.m. Students hadn't arrived yet. Teachers were sipping their coffee. Cleaning staff was making final preparations. Among them, the quietest and most invisible, was Samuel Morrison. No one knew his real name. His ID card simply read Sam M. Sam began work with the same routine every morning. Gray coveralls, worn sneakers, a baseball cap that always sat slightly crooked. He'd start pushing his cleaning cart from B corridor, passing through the math and science section. Classroom 1-2A, geometry. Classroom 1-2B, chemistry. Classroom 12C, advanced physics. Students never noticed him. He was as ordinary to them as a desk, a chair, a cabinet. When walking through the corridors, they'd move around him. Didn't feel the need to hear his voice. They wouldn't even say, "Excuse me." Sam wasn't bothered by this. Actually, he was content with this invisibility, because Sam Morrison had secrets. Big secrets. That morning, Ms. Elena Rodriguez had come to school early. She was preparing for her advanced physics class. She was writing complex equations on the board, trying to arrange them in a way students could understand. Quantum mechanics wasn't an easy subject, especially for 1718-year-old kids. When Sam came to classroom 12C as usual, he found Ms. Rodriguez at the front of the board. The woman was distracted, in deep thought. Sam quietly began emptying the trash can in the corner. "Buenos días, Said. Miss Rodriguez." Without lifting her head, Sam nodded in greeting. He never spoke. In the 5 years he'd worked at the school, at most, some had heard him say good morning and good day. Ms. Rodriguez continued writing an equation on the board, a formula about quantum superposition. As Sam was changing the trash bag, his eye drifted to the board. He stopped. There was an error in the formula, small but critical. Ms. Rodriguez put down her pen and was reviewing the equation. "Something's missing," she murmured to herself. "But what?" Sam hesitated. For 5 years, he had never helped anyone with lesson topics, never expressed his opinion. Invisibility was a secret that needed to be protected, but the equation was wrong. And tomorrow, 25 students would learn this wrong formula. Sam slowly approached the board. Ms. Rodriguez was still examining the formula. Sam quietly reached out and erased a symbol from the formula. Then he wrote the correct symbol next to it. Ms. Rodriguez turned and looked at Sam. She glanced at the correction the man had made. Her eyes widened. This is correct," she said, as if she couldn't breathe. "How?" Sam stepped back. He took the trash bag and headed for the door. "Wait," said Ms. Rodriguez. "Please wait." Sam stopped, but didn't turn around. "How do you know this formula?" "Sums through. Thims through." "It just looked wrong," he said quietly. "Looked wrong?" Ms. Rodriguez approached. "This is quantum mechanics. They teach this subject at graduate university level." Sam continued walking toward the door. "Good day, Ms. Rodriguez." Throughout that day, Ms. Rodriguez couldn't stop thinking about Sam. How could a janitor correct a quantum physics formula? Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it was just a lucky guess. But the way he wrote that symbol, it looked professional. Experienced the next morning, Ms. Rodriguez came earlier. She deliberately wrote another mistake on the board. This time a more complex thermodynamics equation. An incorrect integration operation. When Sam arrived, the woman pretended to sit at her desk while watching him. As Sam was emptying the trash can, his eye drifted to the board. He stopped. He examined the formula. He thought for a few seconds. Then, like yesterday, he quietly approached the board and corrected the mistake. This time Ms. Rodriguez jumped up. "Stop!" she said. "Please stop!" Sam stood there with the eraser in his hand. "Who are you?" There was something different in Sam's eyes. The weight, fatigue, a secret he'd been hiding for 5 years. "I'm just a janitor," he said. "No," Ms. Rodriguez shook her head. "You're not just a janitor. You're not someone who solves these equations." There was a long silence. Sam looked at the board, then at Ms. Rodriguez, then back at the board. "I used to be a teacher," he finally said. "What level?" "University." Ms. Rodriguez held her breath. "Which university?" Sam took a deep breath. MIT. That word hung in the air. MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the world's most prestigious technical universities. "What did you teach at MIT?" "Theoretical physics." Ms. Rodriguez sat down in her chair. "When?" "From 1995 to 2019. You worked at MIT for 24 years. And now you work here as a janitor." Sam bowed his head. "It's a long story." After that day, Ms. Rodriguez began to see Sam differently. But Sam still continued his same routine, with the same cart, the same silence, the same invisibility. A week later, he heard conversation in the teacher's lounge. "Is there anyone who can solve this formula?" Math teacher Mr. Peterson was asking. "It's too difficult for students, but necessary for the competition." On the board was a terrifyingly complex differential equation. Sam was passing through the corridor. Stop. He saw the equation through the teacher's lounge door. Mr. Peterson, Ms. Rodriguez, biology teacher Ms. Kim, and assistant principal Mr. Davies were discussing. "I tried," said Ms. Kim. "I researched online. My math knowledge at this level isn't sufficient." "I could ask a math professor from the university," said Mr. Peterson. "We need to solve it by tomorrow," said Mr. Davies. "The competition application is the last day." Sam left his cart. He entered the teacher's lounge. "Excuse me," he said quietly. Everyone turned to him. It seemed a bit strange for the janitor to enter the teacher's lounge. "Can I help?" asked Sam. Mr. Peterson frowned. "With what?" Sam pointed to the board. "The equation." The teachers looked at each other. Ms. Rodriguez knew Sam's secret, but hadn't told the others. "Do you have math knowledge?" asked Mr. Peterson, in a slightly mocking tone. Sam approached the board. He took the pen, and for 15 minutes, without stopping, he solved the equation step by step. He explained each step. He explained why he chose that method. He suggested alternative solution paths. The teachers watched him with their mouths open. When Sam put down the pen, there was a perfect solution on the board. "This, ... Mr. Peterson stammered. "This is doctoral-level mathematics." Sam shrugged. "A bit complex, but logical." "Who are you?" asked Mr. Davies. Ms. Rodriguez stood up. "This is Sam, and he's someone I need to introduce you to." That day, Sam Morrison's story came out. He had worked as a theoretical physics professor at MIT for 24 years. He was a world-renowned expert in quantum mechanics. He had published 127 scientific papers. He had written 3 books. He had trained thousands of students. So why was he here? In 2019, his wife Margaret had died of cancer. Sam had fallen into depression. He had quit his job at MIT and moved to the small town where Margaret was born and raised. But he didn't want to return to the academic world. There were too many painful memories there. He just wanted a simple, quiet job. A job where he wouldn't have to think. He had found a cleaning job at Lincoln High School. No one had asked who he was. Sam hadn't told him either. For 5 years, he had watched math and physics classes from afar. He had seen students struggling. He had seen teachers trying their best to teach, but he had never intervened until he saw the mistake in Ms. Rodriguez's formula. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" asked Mr. Davies. "Because I came here to escape," said Sam, "to escape from the academic world, from complexity, from expectations." "But this is waste," said Ms. Rodriguez. "Your knowledge, your experience, ... "I'm not the same as I used to be," said Sam. "After Margaret died, my perspective on the world changed. I don't want to make big discoveries anymore. I just want peace." The teachers listened to him quietly. "But," said Sam, "if there's something I can help with occasionally, ... maybe, ... Mr. Davies leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Maybe I could stay in the evenings. Help struggling students, unofficially." "This would be great," said Ms. Rodriguez. "But don't let anyone call me doctor or anything," said Sam. "I'm still Sam. Janitor Sam." After that week, something strange began happening at Lincoln High School. An evening study group was established for students struggling with math and science, officially under Ms. Rodriguez's responsibility. But the real person in charge of the group was Sam. On the first evening, only 3 students came: Jessica Martinez, an 11th grade student struggling with math; David Park, a 12th grade student failing physics; Sarah Williams, a 10th grade student having trouble with chemistry. Sam met them in classroom 1C. He was still wearing his coveralls. "Hello," he said. "I'm Sam. I'll try to help you." The students were a bit surprised. Learning that the janitor would teach them was strange. "Do you really know math?" asked Jessica. Sam smiled. "A little. Let's see." Jessica pulled out her notebook. "Trigonometry." "I don't understand anything." Sam drew a simple circle on the board. "Trigonometry is actually like storytelling," he said. "Every angle has its own story." For the next 2 hours, Sam explained math and science to these 3 students in ways they had never heard. He explained complex topics with examples from daily life. He made abstract concepts concrete. "Wow," said David. "Physics was this logical." "Now I understand," said Sarah. "Chemistry is just the social life of atoms." Jessica had solved her first trigonometry problem. The next day, these 3 students told their friends. A week later, there were 12 students in the study group. A month later, 35 students. Sam was there every evening, still wearing his coveralls, still working quietly. But he was no longer just a janitor. He had become a symbol of hope for the students. Mr. Sam called Marcus a 12th grade student one day. "Can you solve this problem?" The problem Marcus brought was a difficult question from the state math competition. Sam examined the problem. "This is from my old field," he said. "Quantum mechanics, mathematics." "Quantum mechanics?" asked Marcus. "What's that?" Sam's eyes lit up. "The science that explains how the smallest particles of the universe behave. They can be in 2 places at the same time." "Impossible." "It seems so," said Sam. "But it's real. I even wrote a book on this subject." The students were surprised. "You wrote a book?" Sam was a bit embarrassed. "Yes. When I was working at MIT." "You worked at MIT?" asked Sarah. "Yes. A long time ago." That night, when Sam went home, for the first time in 5 years, he felt truly useful. He looked at Margaret's photograph. "You know, Maggie," he said quietly, "maybe this is the right place. Maybe I didn't come here to heal. Maybe I came here to teach." Over the following months, Lincoln High School's math and science success increased dramatically. For the first time, the school ranked in the top positions in state competitions. University acceptances increased by 40%, but most importantly, students began to love science. "Mr. Sam," said Lisa, a 9th grade student one day, "when I grow up, I want to be a physicist." "Like you." Sam's heart warmed. "That's wonderful, Lisa. You're a very smart girl. Are you thinking of returning to MIT?" Sam thought. "I don't know. I'm very happy here too." "We want you here too." At the end of that year, at Lincoln High School's graduation ceremony, Sam was also brought to the stage. He was officially given the title of Special Academic Advisor. When Sam gave his speech, his words were simple but deep. "5 years ago, I came here to hide my pain. But you taught me something greater than pain. You taught me hope. You reminded me that teaching is not just giving information, but touching lives." The audience gave a standing ovation. "I trained thousands of students at MIT," Sam continued, "but none made me as proud as you, because you didn't just learn math and physics. You learned curiosity, love of research, never giving up." As Sam finished his speech, he added, "Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen in the most unexpected places. I knew this, but didn't understand it until I lived it." After the ceremony, Ms. Rodriguez approached Sam. "Did an offer come from MIT?" she asked. "It did," said Sam, "but I refused." "Why?" Sam looked at the school, at the corridors, the classrooms, where the students went. "Because this is my home now. These children are my family. And Margaret would approve of me being here." Sam Morrison still works at Lincoln High School. He's no longer just a janitor, but an official faculty member. But he still comes in the same coveralls. He still pushes the same cart, because he reminds the students, true wisdom comes with humility. True teaching is done not with great titles, but with a great heart. And sometimes the greatest lessons come from the most ordinary-looking people. Now, I ask you, have you ever encountered someone like this? Someone who appeared ordinary but had extraordinary knowledge? Maybe the janitor at your school, the quiet neighbor in your neighborhood, or the cashier at the market. Who knows what secrets they're hiding? Share their stories in the comments, tell their names, describe which city they lived in. Because every hidden hero deserves to be remembered. If you know someone who taught you something, surprised you, but never bragged, let's honor them here. And don't forget to write which city you're watching from. Having listeners from all over the world for these stories is very meaningful to us. If this story touched you, and you believe more stories like this need to be told, don't forget to subscribe. At The Human Stories, we continue to keep silent heroes and forgotten legends alive. Because the most powerful stories don't come shouting. They wait quietly to be discovered. See you in the next story.